those. Move to public hearing and special presentation. Public hearing of vacation. Engineering Superintendent Thomas Osborne will make comments, and the mayor will open the hearing for public comments, and the mayor will close it.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission. In, I believe it was 2012, we vacated several streets east of Union for the CVR nitrogen fertilizer was going to build the rail yard in that section that's pretty much been dedicated as a green zone. This portion of Laurel Street is in that area and was not vacated then because we didn't realize it was street right away. It was never built. It looks like a vacant lot. It ends up being approximately a half a block of Laurel Street. We're just needing to vacate this to, it'll be vacated and deeded over to CVR Energy. You have to answer any questions.
No questions.
Any questions? Open the hearing for public comment. Yep. Any questions from the public regarding this? Seeing no questions or comments, I will close the public hearing.
And I'd make a motion to approve ordinance S-17-01 for first reading.
Second.
So, motion's been made for the first reading of an ordinance to vacate certain right-of-way within the city of Coffeyville, ordinance number S-17-01. Motion was made by Commissioner Taylor, seconded by Commissioner Martin. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay.
Mayor, you need to call the roll on that one since it's an ordinance.
Okay, all right. Commissioner Taylor,
Aye.
Commissioner Martin,
Aye.
Commissioner Bauer, aye. Commissioner Kastler,
Aye.
ordinance S-17-01, first reading of ordinance to vacate certain right-of-way within the city of Coffeyville has been approved. We'll open this to new business. Resolution number R-17-09, a resolution to execute a lease agreement with Coffeyville Aircraft for the middle hangar at the Coffeyville Municipal Airport. City Attorney Paul Kreitz will make comments.
Thank you, Mayor. As indicated in the staff report, the city currently has a month-to-month lease arrangement for the middle hangar at the municipal airport. The middle hangar is depicted on an aerial that's part of your agenda packet. John Cameron and actually his company called Coffeyville Aircraft Inc. is the tenant, and Mr. Cameron has requested, I think some time ago, to have some sort of a longer-term lease that would give him some assurance that he would continue to be in the building, and if so, he plans to make some repairs and improvements, what I call much-needed repairs and improvements to the hangar. As proposed, this lease would expire at the same time his lease for the main terminal building expires, and that's June 1st of 2021. He currently pays $400 per month, and he reported to me that he currently derives about $450 per month in sub-rental income. Some of the highlights of the lease itself, the premises are rented as is. There's a lot of pictures in your agenda packet that show the condition of the hangar. It's in need of some repairs, obviously. He's to use the premises solely for storage of aircraft and other airport-related purposes. The lease would commence as of March 1st. He will make routine improvements and repairs to the premises. He wanted it to be known that he's leasing the property as is and as found, and I think his plan is to remove the south side lean-to. Mr. Cameron is here and he can address that if he wishes to. He'll be permitted to remove the lean-to on the south side of the premises, and the city's obligation, if he chooses to do so, would be to provide an electrician to isolate and terminate the electric power to that particular area. The lease also requires Mr. Cameron to provide liability insurance in favor of the city in an amount of not less than $250,000, and he's already done that. be happy to answer any questions, and Mr. Cameron may want to address you, or you may have some questions for him.
Up to questions from the commission.
What, I've got all the pictures. Can you, I don't see the rest of it here for some reason.
What are you looking for?
What is he paying rent or is he not paying rent or?
Yeah, he's paid rent, $400 a
So
month.
that continues?
Yes,
You're
that
just asking for a continuation?
He's really asking for a longer-term lease, just
Okay.
so that he knows he's going to be there, and if he puts some money into the property, we're not going to just cancel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you, Justin.
Is that right,
Nope.
John? Yeah. Okay.
Basically just going to remove the lean-to, is that what, at this point?
John Cameron, 1503 South Spruce, Coffeyville. That's the plan. We'll see what it'll take to do that. Right now, we're just cleaning that area out.
Okay.
It really needs to come off because unless we put a lot of money into rebuilding the roof on it and the sidewalls too, and then we don't really have a use for it. So it's really run down, and we thought we'd just take it off. There is a part that we added to it, I don't know if it's 86 or when it was, for a little paint booth room. Its roof is still good, but I don't know if its attachment has caused it to be dilapidated too. I haven't gone back there and tested the floors or anything on it, but they're pretty bad in that area. So it may be savable, maybe not.
So you've had it for a while?
We haven't used it in 20 years, so
Okay.
it's there.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I got a question for you. Joel,
Mm-hmm.
your brother,
Yes, he is.
older, younger?
That's my brother, about 2 years younger.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I went to school with Joel. Haven't seen him since
Yeah.
then, so thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you.
Do we have a motion to approve Resolution R-17-09?
I'll make a motion.
Motion was made by Commissioner Kessler,
Second.
second by Commissioner Martin. Moving on to Resolution R-17-
We got to vote on it, Paul. We got to vote on it.
resolution, sorry.
So,
Commissioner Taylor?
aye.
Commissioner Martin? Commissioner Bauer, aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Kessler, aye. Okay,
You don't necessarily need to do a roll call, but you do need to call for the vote.
gotcha. Okay, Resolution R-17-10, resolution to execute change order number 1, final with Home Center Construction for the chlorine booster station. Public Works Director Chuck Shively will make comments.
Mayor, Commissioners, the construction of the new chlorine booster station is complete. During the early stages of construction, we decided that in the field that because of underground utilities in the area, it made sense to move the booster station to a different location on the site. The change location reduced the amount of 2-inch water line installed by 225 feet. That resulted in a contract price reduction. The original approved contract was for $333,622. This change order reduces that amount by $4,905. So I recommend approval of the resolution. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? No questions from the commission. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Second. Motion has been made by Commissioner Bauer, seconded by Commissioner Taylor. We'll vote the commission. All in favor,
Aye.
say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. I'm aye.
Thank you.
Thank
Chuck.
you. Resolution R-17-11, a resolution to execute change order number 6 with the UCI for the power plant. Electric Utility Deputy Director Mike Shook will make comments.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. As you stated, the item I bring before you this evening for your consideration is a change order with UCI for the site preparation contract for the new generation project. This change order request represents several items, the first being the addition of a 16-foot swing gate located on the west side of the perimeter of the property at the new gen site. The second item is additional paving for access to the existing buildings at a cost of $9,395.52. Third item is a deductive change in the amount of $7,000 for non-removal of the heavy haul access road. The fourth item is a deductive change in the amount of $12,794. This was a negotiated discount for the entire asphalt paving project due to poor quality of paving. Jim Bradshaw and myself negotiated this with UCI. In addition to that, the paving, we have another deductive change amount in the amount of $26,876. And this is a quote that we received from Donaldson to do a surface seal on all the paving at the new generation project. It should add anywhere from 5 to 7 or 8 years life to the paving. So therefore, staff recommends the approval of change order number 6 to UCI in a deductive amount of $35,624.48. And I'd be happy to try to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions? No questions? Do we have a motion to approve Resolution R-17-11 for adoption?
Motion.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Martin,
Second.
second by Commissioner Kessler. I'll poll the commission. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Ayes take it. Moving to
Thank you.
ordinance.
Mike,
Yes, sir.
while you're standing there, how's everything going at the power plant?
We are currently receiving just about 2 dispatches per day on all 3 units.
So that means they start up.
They start up. We did have an issue with one unit. Actually, the 2nd of January, the unit was down several days. We had the problem ended up being a surge capacitor had blown. This was attributed back to, and it was a warranty item on Wartsila, but that was replaced and repaired. The units since have been back.
What do you
available.
think of those Wattsella generators?
The market likes them. Like I say, they're dispatched twice a day.
Dispatched twice a day, that means
They're called upon to generate
you need
electricity.
power.
Correct. The market does. The SPP region needs power.
I wouldn't have thought that would happen this time of the year that much. Wonder why.
I think a lot of it has to do with the wind generation that's in the region. It basically follows the wind generation. If there's a lack of wind generation or it shuts off, these units get dispatched. They're dispatched during the 2 peaks during the day.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, moving on. Ordinance number S-17-02 is the first reading of an ordinance to approve the annual renewal of the 10-year property tax exemption incentive for 4-state maintenance. Assistant City Manager Tricia Purdon will make comments.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I wanted to give a little bit of a background about 4-state maintenance and supply, as we have a new face on our commission from last year. First of all, 4-state maintenance and supply is a distribution and sales company here in Coffeyville. They distribute supplies that are custodial equipment to area businesses and nonprofit organizations such as schools, cities, nonprofit churches, businesses. They sell these products across several states, including Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Missouri. Recently, 4-state has expanded into the gym floor restoration business and refurbishment. Since this time, their business has expanded rapidly. In addition, since the last time we came to you, they've expanded their business and have started selling and distributing Green Mountain grills, which are pellet grills for private use. Over the past few decades, the company has had 2 expansions. One was in 2001, and the current expansion, which was started in 2009. In 2008, when they were preparing to start the second expansion, they were evaluating leaving Coffeyville with this expansion, and were looking at major metropolitan markets of Topeka, Kansas City, and other communities. It was due to the work of Jeff Morris, the city manager of Coffeyville at the time, who approached For State Maintenance and Supply and convinced them to add this expansion here in Coffeyville rather than building a new building in another community. Part of the process and incentive for them to do so was offering them a 10-year tax abatement on the new facility and shelving that they would build as part of the expansion. So this exemption that they offered was only for the addition to the old building. The old building was coming off of their property tax exemption that they had received in 2001. The company applied for the incentive abatement under the property classification of storage of goods or commodities that are sold or traded in interstate commerce. That's a unique application for the city of Coffeyville, and it had not been used frequently in our community before. So staff and the company had really not been familiar with this type of classification. The original exemption request was approved by Ordinance S-9-05, effective January 1st, 2009 through December 31st, 2019. So this is year 7 of the current tax exemption for For State Maintenance and Supply. In addition to the ongoing exemption, For State had previously had an exemption for real and personal property, just for a little bit of background on this, for the 10-year period from January 1st to December 31st, 2010 for the larger building in 2001. The exemption has ended, and they now pay taxes totaling $12,767.06 per year on that facility. So they're still paying property taxes on their facility there here in Coffeyville. So this year, every year, the first meeting in February and then the second meeting in February, we present this again just for an annual review. It's required by the Kansas Board of Tax Appeals. They require that we look at the extent and term of any tax exemption to make sure that the ownership and use of the property and any other qualifying criteria of the business for the tax exemption incentive continue to exist. 2 years ago, we got feedback from the company and from the commission to really drill down, since we had really never done one of these distribution and supply incentive agreements before, to make sure that we're really following the regulations for this policy. So 2 years ago, we started that process, and last year we really worked with the IRS, the Kansas Board of Tax Appeals, the Kansas Department of Commerce, and the Kansas Department of Revenue to really make sure we were following the intent of the legislation and the state laws on this policy. They wanted to make sure that we evaluate the number of jobs, the average wage of jobs, the sales taxes are generated, and the local sales taxes and local sales generated by the company each year. That basically shows the actual impact that this exemption would have on our community and to taxpayers in our community. This year, the company provided annual sales tax reports for Kansas, Oklahoma, and Missouri. They're just now starting to sell in Arkansas, so those reports aren't available yet. They've provided W-2s and payroll information for employee and residency verification, and contractor documents to ensure that the contractors listed on their jobs numbers meet the standards that IRS stated would be allowed as part of the job counts for annual review purposes. I evaluated all of these documents over the last month. As this is confidential employment data, they only provide these to myself. I review them and then return them back to the company. We don't want the liability as the city to maintain records with Social Security numbers and detailed employment and address information of these employees. Due to the feedback from the State of Kansas Department of Commerce, Tax Appeals, and Revenue, we did adjust the method of counting employees for the past 2 years. The job total that I show in the packet includes only regular employees that receive W-2s and contract employees, those that can provide 1099s for those employees and meet other IRS guidelines such as employment permanence, the expectation of permanence, and the intent of employment. After reviewing the wage reports, we've determined that there are 34 employees working for For State Maintenance Supply in 2016. At 34 employees, For State Maintenance and Supply meets the state requirement that they create at least one job in order to meet the regulation for the exemption. That's the state statute. And in total, this exemption allowed the company to create 4 additional jobs since 2010. So they're up 4 since their original application. One of the most significant developments is the percentage of local employees that the company does employ. Today, over 61% of their workforce lives in Coffeyville, and I verified that with W-2s, and 74% of all employees live in Montgomery County. Although they're down by 1 employee from last year they were at 5, due to the expansion of services into the hardwood floor refinishing business, they expect that number to grow in the next few years. They do expect to hire a few more employees. In addition, they added a second shift at their facility last year to accommodate the increased businesses they are experiencing. Now on to wages, which is your Exhibit B in the packet. That shows your salary for new employees and FTE employees. The FTE number includes new employees and part-time employees to show an accurate salary number. The key factor here is the starting salary of their employees is $39,130. And the average salary, which I exclude the owner salaries out of because I think that skews the data, their average salary is $40,104. With the average or the median salary of Montgomery County being $31,000, they exceed both the starting and the average wage by quite a bit, actually. The third factor is their annual sales. 2008 was a very successful year, so their baseline on annual sales was very high, but they have grown steadily over the abatement period. Currently, their sales are barely behind their base rate of $7.4 million, which is where they were in 2004 before the crash that everyone experienced in 2009, and they're at $7.35 million a year. Lastly, their estimates for local sales taxes have been greatly exceeded each year. This is one of the key items listed in the original application the Commission should consider as part of the renewal decision, and it has the largest impact on the community and our taxpayers. Over 90% of sales from Montgomery County generated $26,838 in local sales taxes for our community. They sold over $1.3 million to Montgomery County businesses and schools. In your packet it says 4. I found out that that number included $2.7 million of all school districts in the state of Kansas, and apparently the sales tax reports do not separate school districts out. They just lump it all into the local entity. So they went through and took those out for me so we had an accurate number. So our local companies are supported. There's a local supplier for goods and services for our businesses, and it allows our local vendors to work with somebody else local, so it keeps the money in our community versus having to go outside. Lastly, taxes, and this is one key point that I want to make sure is clear. I think last year I got feedback that maybe this wasn't as a clear point. The tax benefit that For State received for this exemption, to date, the total taxes exempted for the new edition are $72,027.85. That's over 7 years. However, the company has paid personal property taxes on a fleet of 25 vehicles of $23,516 in 2016 alone. That's just this year. $176,591.58 have been paid since the start of this abatement period in personal property taxes on their fleet of vehicles that are tagged here in Montgomery County. And that's a substantial sum of money for our county. In addition, the company purchased new vehicles for the business totaling $115,575, of which the sales taxes on these vehicles will be paid to the city of Coffeyville. So staff recommends that For State Maintenance, they have met all the requirements established by the Kansas Board of Tax Appeals to satisfy the annual review of their tax exemption. It's staff's recommendation that they are granted 100% tax exemption based on this information provided by the company and from the state of Kansas. I have Tom Tipton and Tim Roberts are here, as well as Brandon from For State Maintenance and Supply. They're here to answer any questions, but I'm more than happy to answer your questions as well. I am very well versed in this at this point.
Do we have to every year drag all their out for the public, or is that something that we could review?
State statutes calls it review it.
We have to evaluate the four pieces, so that's why I left it as the big numbers instead of breaking it down like we
Maybe I
had in
should
the
clarify.
past.
I know that we have to review it, but do we have to get up in a mic and tell everybody in the world every bit of their detailed business?
Well, I think that would be something that the commission could decide and could give guidance on, and we could
Is
just
that
give
something-
staff's recommendation that they've met the statutes, if that's
So
what
we
you
could do an
prefer.
executive session?
I don't think so.
I don't think it would fall under executive session, no.
Not unless you got into confidential information.
Right.
I don't have
And the
any-
information that I share with you today, I mean, that's information that the company, I mean, we've obviously redacted a lot of it. Anything that's confidential has pretty much been kept out.
I have no other questions, though.
I saw where you guys had an expansion to Topeka, had yeah. You tell us about that, or?
Yes, we were awarded, we've been a supplier for the Topeka schools for the last 9 years, working under a RFP with that school district, and they just recently renewed that RFP for another 5 years. It's a great benefit for our company.
Good deal.
Good. Any other questions from?
Now, you brought up the tags. Are those prorated tags for your vehicles? Are they prorated for different states, or do they just?
Yeah, we've got a lot of employees besides the people who don't live in Coffeyville. We provide vehicles for our sales.
No, I'm talking about for your trucks.
Can you come up to the, Tim, would you mind coming up to the podium, please?
You guys go to different states, Tim? Go ahead.
They're just all commercial tagged in the state of Kansas. They changed that law in like 14, before that they have commercial tags on these vehicles.
I just was
for
curious, you
different
go to
ways.
different states?
Yeah, yep.
And on our trucks, they gotta be prorated. I just wondered.
No,
I'm just curious.
yeah. But of a lot of our salesmen that work for us that live in Montgomery County, live in Topeka, live in Missouri, and live in these different states, where a lot of times we see people that are living in Coffeyville possibly have Oklahoma tags. Well, we've got Montgomery County tags in those states. So we supply those vehicles, and we pay Montgomery County taxes on vehicles that are in other places and states.
Okay.
So,
And Jim, I would say the GVW of your trucks being larger probably is due to the proration.
Might be, I'd have to check. I just figured they were prorated. No big deal, just curious. Tim, while you're up there, Tom, you guys know that I've talked to you about this situation quite a bit. I had a short conversation with Paul by phone before this started, and it's been a little bit of an issue with me. You know that. Public knows it. I got a chance to, so Paul know this, I didn't get a chance to tell him all this in our conversation. It was about a 2-minute conversation. The issue with taxes is brought up to, because it's a kind of a sticky. You'll have a few people in the community that want to do it and some that don't. I said this before, I'm a big proponent of industry and tax abatements when it comes to doing a new building, because I've done some of that kind of stuff, and I figure a deal's a deal, okay? I mean, to get someone to do something, I had a chance to look at the whole file. It's quite a bit more than we have here in front of us.
Yep.
And we came out to your place, we looked at this thing 2 or 3 times, and when I had the opportunity to hear about this, when I sat out in the audience a couple years ago, and this commission looked at it, and at the time it was Mayor Jim Faulkner, it was quite a bit of debate. You guys remember. And Jim said, we're really going to have to take a look at this next year. And at that year, we gave you a 75% abatement, okay, instead of 100. We looked at the numbers. When Angie Naden brought this thing to the commission at the time, it was very clear by the documents that you guys would be adding 1 job per year. And from what I'm looking at the numbers, we've gotten maybe not near that. I'm not going to say a number because it's kind of confusing. And I mentioned this last year, and I'm going to mention it again in my closing here. By looking at the numbers, and I told you personally, Tim, I thought it would be fair to stick with the 75% abatement. Do you remember that conversation I had with you? And that, at this time, by looking at this, to introduce it to Paul and to the citizens of Coffeyville, that's as much as I can vote for. I want to say that. I'm glad you guys are here. I support business. I know how tough it is, and that's all I need to say.
I would clarify, just for the sake of history, so everyone's aware, when the company applied for this in 2008, it was obviously before the economic recession that we experienced.
Sure.
The application they submit are purely projections. They are not obligated by law, once they turn that in, to meet those projections, but they are part of your basis for evaluation every year. By state law, statute, they're required to create one job by law. That's all they have to create in order to meet the requirements. So I just want to make sure everyone's aware of that.
And Jim, those projections that we were talking about before, and I think that's what Tom's going to come up here and talk about, was some projections that we put out that in 2008 that we were hoping that we could obtain. Because based on what Trish just said, all we really had to do was one job. But as we were looking forward, we're hoping, well, if the economy continues as it is, that we could add a lot more jobs than that. And this wasn't a promise that we were trying to make, that we were going to do that. Tom was looking at a forecast where we go in the future and hope we could obtain that. Because if the reality is one job, why would he put the other jobs on?
Tim, I saw a document, so everybody knows, and I can dig it up. This said that when it came before the commission, when this deal was made, it was very, very clear. And Angie Naden's number was on it, and I can find that. It was very clear that it was contingent upon one job per year. I can supply that document. It was very clear. It was very clear. And let me finish, and you can talk, Tom. And I feel, sitting in this position, that we have to represent the citizens of Coffeyville. And I just feel like it's a fair negotiation to get 75% of an abatement, because everyone else has to pay their taxes. And this is why the state has this come before every time. I know it's a crappy deal. I know it's a crappy deal for you to get up here and have to explain it.
I don't really think it is a bad deal. I think it is obviously our responsibility to convey this information. Trish has been very due diligent in actually figuring out how to do this correct. And you refer back to the period of time when Jen Faulkner was here. All of that effort was wrong. It was never compiled with us being a sales organization. The commissioners during this effort actually came to our facility assuming that we were a manufacturing plant and that we were building product. Trish has went out to the IRS, through the state revenue, and research to actually figure out how to properly do this. And she did an excellent job of finally presenting it right, not only this year but last year. But every year prior to that, it was done incorrectly, okay? The last 2 years, it is very obvious, once she put together the correct formulation, that we've met all of the criteria. And we've struggled over the previous 5 years prior to that of going through trying to meet a criteria from a manufacturing plant instead of a sales organization. So as she presented today, showing that she has now researched the correct way, which we're greatly appreciative of, and we're not the least bit embarrassed to throw our numbers out, show what we're doing. We're matter of fact, very proud of it. We had a great 2016. And we have produced this community great revenue. Jim, what I would again ask you to do, as I've asked every year, as all of the other commissioners had, please come out, let us show you the numbers, okay?
We did. I came out and
you've
did
never
this. I
come
did.
out. Last year I asked time and time again.
I was there.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I was.
No, you didn't.
I was there. Tim, was I there?
Please come.
Tim, was I there?
No.
That's incorrect. I
No,
guess
it's
I'm
not
at the video.
incorrect. You
I was
weren't
up there twice.
You've been there one time.
No, I was there twice.
With Justin.
No, I was there twice.
Okay.
But I came to your facility.
Come this year then,
Well,
with Trish, and we will sit down with Brenda, and we will show you the numbers and show you that we have completed all of the information that we've needed to complete.
I spent 7 or 8 hours looking at it, and to represent the citizens of Coffeyville.
Please come.
I've been there,
You're-
Tom.
you're
I've been to the
invited.
Dog and Pony Show. I love it.
Okay,
You got a
come
great
tomorrow.
facility.
Come tomorrow.
But I saw the agreement.
Okay.
The original agreement. We can get it out and look at it some more.
Let's do it tomorrow.
Well, I've showed it. I don't have time tomorrow. I'm done talking about
Okay,
it.
come the next
I'm done.
day then.
You need
Just-
to convince.
Just Jim, please come.
I've been there twice. Okay? Been there twice. And again, I can vote for 75%. I can't vote for any more. And I'm done talking about it.
I'm voting for 100. This happens every year. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to debate it. Trish, the question we ask every year is, did they meet all the qualifications?
Yes, they have, in staff's opinion.
If I remember right, the years that they are in question, that the year that we gave 75%, they did not.
Correct. They did not meet the jobs requirement that year. They were exactly at 30 jobs that year. So in just 2 years, they went to 5, and then now they're at 4. Apparently they were at 5, and then it was a recent loss that they had.
So that's why I believe we went to 75 that day. Now this time, I went out every year, talked to Tom several times. I didn't go this year just because remember what happened last year, and I don't want to go through that again.
You're always welcome.
Well, and I know that, but I don't want to be dragged through the mud like I was last time over meeting with someone in the public. We go through it every year. I know how Jim feels. I know how other people, but I'm gonna say I haven't heard many other people in this community come up and tell me that they're against this. My motion is to give them 100%. If ever in the future they fail to meet that again, then we'll discuss going down. But right now, as the qualifications are set, I believe they should get 100%, and that's my motion.
Start with a motion?
You have a motion to
Second.
approve?
Second.
Motion's been made to approve ordinance S-17-02 by Commissioner Castler, seconded by Commissioner Martin. I will poll the commission individually. Commissioner Taylor?
No.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Bauer, yes. Commissioner Castler?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
First reading has been approved for ordinance number S-17-02. This time, we will move on to the city manager's report.
Mayor, Commissioners, I'll try to be brief and get out of here in maybe a record time. One of the big items that has a lot of public attention right now is the pending sale of the former Amazon.com building. I believe I had originally told you that it would be February 28th, but that has since been delayed by the request of several different entities. That sale will be a sealed bid auction that will take place. The deadline for sealed bids is noon on Wednesday, March 15th. And so we will be following that very closely, obviously, to see how that goes. The emergency services building, you will see that dirt work started this week. One feature that we have that we thought would be of interest to the citizens is that we've added a construction camera at the corner. Currently, it's sitting at the corner of 10th and Gillum. It will be moved to 11th and Gillum once we can do so. But we have a link that is on our Facebook site and also on the homepage of our website that will allow you to. You can click on that link and it'll take you directly to our YouTube page, and you can see a live feed of the construction as it goes on. So we just thought that would be something that citizens would enjoy, following throughout the course of the next few months. As far as the City Hall project goes, we expect 10 days to 2 weeks that we will have all things finalized and out for bid. We're waiting on some specs from a little bit on both ends, on both the architectural and a little bit from PEC. Coming up Friday, February 17th, so it's a week from this coming Friday, we are going, oh, it is this Friday, excuse me, I'm sorry. It is this Friday, February 17th. We are going to be holding, we're looking for volunteers for a housing task force, and this is part of developing a housing assessment tool. Essentially what we're doing is we're doing a community-wide analysis of our housing stock here in Coffeyville, and this obviously is beneficial in several folds, but one of the main things is it's a requirement by the Department of Commerce to allow us to apply for grants, housing grants, and so and part of that is to convene a task force that looks and determines some of the goals for housing or upcoming needs for housing, and just have a good idea of the current stock of residential housing here in Coffeyville. So if you have an interest, like I said, it's we're inviting the public. If you have an interest in this, and it'll take place right here, Senior Citizens Advisory Center, 2:30 to 4:30 on Friday.
Can you send an email on that so I can put it in my calendar?
I will, yes. Also, in kind of the same vein, as part of the city-county collaboration that's ongoing, we will be meeting on the 22nd, so that's the following Wednesday, and this will be members of the cities, whether like for representing Coffeyville will be Trish and I, but it'll be a county-wide task force to look at housing initiatives, and so that will be taking place next Wednesday. We received notification. We're still waiting to hear on the FEMA grant for the new fire truck. We had basically we were told that they're trying to finalize the issue. They are actively working on it, but no final decision has been made as of yet. Couple things. We got a couple projects that are going on. The Parks Advisory Board has been working on trying to develop a disc golf course here in Coffeyville, and that's been by some popular demand, honestly. And so we have, with some help from some community members that have an interest in disc golf and a knowledge of it, they've began to help us design the course. It'll be in Walter Johnson Park, and it's a little unique, as it will be a combination disc golf and soccer golf. And so actually Jared Schicky, who is the soccer coach for the community here for CCC, has agreed to, he has a passion for that, has agreed to head that up, and they've been very active over this last weekend trying to lay out the course, and so we'll continue to work on that. He's also pledged some of his players to, as a community project, to do the labor when we finalize it. A few things, we have some board openings, two to be exact, so we're still taking applications for a position on the Parks Advisory Board, and we also for the Recreation Board, and those applications are due February 22nd. So we'll look to make those appointments on the 28th, the meeting on the 28th. Finally, just to let you know, the Hometown Showdown, we have submitted our picture for this year's Hometown Showdown contest, and we believe voting will start at the end of the month, probably close to February 23rd, the week of February 23rd. So you're going to start seeing some publicity from the city as far as how the contest works and the correct way to vote for our picture and things like that. So that'll be, you probably start seeing a barrage of that type of information in the near future. So that's really all I have. I'd be open for questions.
Community branding?
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of emails and some webinars with Professor Thomas over the course of the last 2 or 3 weeks. We have, I would think, 3 or 4 logo types and about 8 or 10 taglines. We're also looking at some, I guess I would call a logo to go with it, some options. And I don't have a date that we would roll it out for public input and a final vote, but I mean very soon. I mean, I think we probably get a couple of emails a day from him now.
Yeah.
We're getting very close. We throwing some ideas around back and forth on that.
Can we shoot for like a March 1st to start work? I mean, if we've got that many ideas, can we try to get a date?
Insight.
Right, so that way we can, it seems like this has
Right.
been going on well before I became
Yep.
on the commission, so I think just putting it to bed and getting what we're gonna do.
How much have we spent on that?
Just the original, the 5,000. That's all inclusive of everything.
Okay. Only question I had for you at this time. Any other? Okay. So at this point, we'll open it up to comments from the public. The public is free to comment on items not included or not listed on the agenda. Please address comments to the commission as a body and be mindful of others who may also wish to speak by limiting your comments to 3 minutes. We have, go.
We get 5 minutes.
Yes.
I just wanted to remind everybody, Kiwanis Pancake Feed will be on the 25th of this month. It's on a Saturday from 7 to 11 at the Baptist Church. And we're just a group of volunteers trying to help our children in our community, and that's why we do this as a fundraiser. Like everybody's help. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Any other comments from the public?
Deborah Sharp, 1402 South Willow. We've got a problem down in our area with traffic, with Acme and Watco and all them. When they get off work, whether they're going to lunch or coming back to work or whatever, they're speeding through our area all the time. And we've got 12 little kids out in that area that are out there playing. And we're wondering if there's some way of getting like a speed bump or some caution children at play signs or something like that to protect these little ones.
I'd have to believe that we could do something. We do it at the college for adults.
I hate doing, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's other places I feel overlook street people zoom down to, and I've thought about that street as well. But when we go down that avenue, there's a lot of other places that might need it as well. And a speed bump,
We probably would not put a speed bump in, if nothing else, for street maintenance and clearing of snow removal and things like that.
Right, but we could put some signage.
Kids that play.
East and west on 14th Street, is there a stop sign there?
No.
No.
Is there a stop sign anywhere between the highway and Acme?
No.
Would a stop sign help? They gotta slow down.
I would think it would help.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, half the time they run the ones right there on Willow Street.
well,
They don't care. They just go
the police.
flying right on through there.
if they have a stop sign
this
to
is,
run it, then it's,
this is something that we have looked at, and she's been here
Yeah.
and spoken with me before about it. And I know we've had some patrols there. It probably hasn't, I mean, obviously it hasn't taken care of the situation.
Right.
No, because these guys are slick. I mean, they do it when they know that the police department is changing shifts or they listen to the scanners or whatever and know that the police department's busy doing something else. That's when we see them go flying through there all the time. But I'm just, I'm just fearful one of our little ones is
We
gonna
can
get
look
hurt.
at the situation again, and if we think a stop sign is appropriate there somewhere, we can maybe look at something like that. The caution kids at play type of thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, because they speed both ways, north and south and east and west both. Some of the guys, some of the railroaders going to work, will come flying down 14th Street too. And I know several of them, and I've gotten onto them, hollered at them about it. But like I said, we've got like probably 12 under the age of 12 or 13 in that area that, we've got little ones out there trying to play. I'm just afraid there's going to be an accident or something, and one car just going to go off the road or whatever and get one of the little ones, or because the people are being stupid out there driving.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Deborah.
Any other questions or comments from the public? If not, we'll move on to comments from the commissioners and staff. Any questions from the commission? I have a couple. So, seeing on Facebook, the Caney is wanting to buy water from Coffeyville. Who's going to pay that bill to run the water to them if we do that? I guess that's one of the questions been asked of me.
Well, that was, in my weekly report, I talked about a feasibility study that
Yeah.
that's the first step. I mean,
Sure.
And we're applying for a grant, but they needed a letter of interlocal agreement, essentially is what it was. Paul drafted that letter just to say that we would support applying for a grant to see the feasibility of doing such a interconnect. And then we'd go from there. There are other funds available beyond that feasibility grant to do regional water systems. But if it's not feasible, I mean, we wouldn't pursue it. They approached us
Yeah.
with the option.
So-
And it could be a benefit to us, as we do have water to sell. We have capacity to sell, so it could be a benefit to both communities.
So is Caney looking at something along the same lines, so it's, they get a grant also?
Well,
I mean, so
we-
it would be
we-
all encompassing as one?
We apply together
Right, okay.
for the grant, and
Sure.
it would be to look at not only just a direct interconnect, but, possibility of improvements in this regional water system, as we supply also to Deering and the rural water districts, what other benefits could be had from a regional water system.
Okay. Next one I had was storage for the wind turbine from Burlington Northern Santa Fe. Have we heard anything else from them?
We have not heard anything.
So basically, it's a dead subject at this point.
Well, we kind of feel so, yeah. They, other than their word that they continue to market the site.
Okay. All right. The only other thing I had was, so on the news the other night, Tulsa, Channel 6 or something brought up that GRDA was looking to sell their electric portion of what they sell or what they purchase, and that GRDA was for sale to a private company. So is that going to affect anything that we do as far as our contract? Is that going to have to be renegotiated, or will that?
I'll be honest, you kind of caught me at a loss. I don't know anything about.
It was on the news
Now,
a week or two ago that they were.
We do have a meeting tomorrow with GRDA, a stakeholders meeting, but, maybe Mike can speak to that.
Yeah.
I can speak somewhat to it. I know the Oklahoma legislature, they go through this every few years where they're looking at ways to find funds
Sure.
in Oklahoma, and that's one option that they look at every several years. is to try to privatize or sell portions of GRDA. They're generating assets off. But as Kendall stated, we will hear more of that tomorrow. But in the years that we've had a partnership with GRDA, we go through this about every 2 or 3 years.
Okay, so we have a contract with them.
We do
You
have
don't
a
anticipate that
contract,
they would,
and-
even if they did sell, we would,
They would have to
Uphold
honor
that.
the agreements that were in place.
okay. My only other thing is, do we have a bridge quote yet?
No, they're due Thursday.
Is it Thursday this
Thursday,
week?
Thursday,
Okay, I knew it
2
was,
o'clock.
gonna be close to
Yeah.
this meeting. I couldn't remember exactly which day it was. Okay. That's all I have.
Any economic development you can talk about besides Amazon?
We did get some news from a company that we believe will expand here to Coffeyville. At this point, nothing's been, nothing's firmed up with a contract, but, we have their verbal that they're moving forward. This is something we've been working on well over a year. I think we are probably a couple of weeks away from, an announcement of a, small retail, business, but, nothing that I can, I guess feel that I'm at liberty to just say right now.
That's the number one question I get asked every time I'm out in public is what's coming and
Right.
how soon.
With the sale of Amazon, we have some, I guess, some hope of, real possibilities of someone buying that would bring jobs to Coffeyville. I think we're cautiously but positively optimistic about that.
That's all I want to know.
Any other questions from the commission? I was asked to move to executive session for about 5 minutes. So, all in favor?
For what?
Non-elected personnel.
Non-elected personnel. All in favor? Do I have to pull that? Commissioner Kessler made the motion. I'll second it. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay.
So you guys can tear down the table? Okay, good.